Hi guys, you're welcome back to Sew with Abby channel. This video is about making this beautiful palazzo pants. If this is what you are interested in, then keep watching. Let's get started. These are the materials I'll be making use of, and for my fabric I have chiffon fabric here, though you can make use of any fabric of your choice, and it's about 2 yards. So the first thing I'll be doing is to fold out my fabric into two to cut out the front piece of this palazzo trouser. Now that I have my fabric folded into two, I'll go ahead now and take all the necessary measurements. Now this is the waistline or the starting line, and this is where I'll start taking my measurements. Now this palazzo pant is going to be having about 1.5 inch band, so where I'll take this 1.5 away before I start taking all my measurements. The first measurement I'll measure is my hip line, is 9 inches. I'll mark it and then rule a straight line across. Afterwards, I'll measure my crotch line, which is 11 inches. Now to get your crotch depth, you place your tape from the front waist down through the legs and back up to the back waist, or you sit on a stool or chair. Then you measure the distance from your waist over the hip to the surface of the stool or the chair you are on. I will go ahead now to measure 4 inches down from my crotch line. This is where I'll be taking my thigh measurements, and then I'll rule a straight line across. I'll come to the hip line and measure my hip circumference, my hip measurement divided by 4, and then I'll mark it and add 1 inch seam allowance. Now whatever I have at my hip line, I'll measure the same thing at my waistline and also my crotch line, and then I'll draw a line to connect these points. The next thing to do is to take my waist measurement. Now note where the direction of my hand is going towards. I'll divide my waist circumference by 4, then I'll add 1 inch for that, and then 1 inch for stitching, and then I'll connect it to my hip line like this. Next, I'll measure my crotch circumference. To get this, I'll divide what I have on my hip line by 4. I won't be adding the stitching allowance, so I'll divide this by 4. I had 10, so divided by 4, that gave me 2.5. So I'll just go ahead and add this to what we already measured at the crotch line, and then I'll cuff it like this towards the hip line. The next thing to do is to measure the thigh circumference. My thigh circumference will not be divided by 4, rather it will be divided by 2. And when measuring your thigh, make sure it's free, not fitted or tight, because this is a palazzo pant. I added 1 inch seam allowance and connected the points to the crotch line. The next thing to do now is to take the full measurement for this pant. Still taking note of the 1.5 for band, I'll measure the full length, which is 46 inches. Actually my full length is 45, but I added 1 inch for hem allowance. Now for the roundness at the hem of this pant, I'll measure what I have at my thigh line, and then I'll mark the same thing for the hem of this pants. Now if you don't want the hem of your pants to be as wide as mine, you can take away some inches before you mark. Now I'll rule a straight line from the crotch line to the hem of the pants. This is basically all for the front piece. I'll go ahead now to cut it out. I will be using this front piece to cut out the back piece, so I'll go ahead now to fold another piece of fabric into two and place my front piece on it. For this back piece, I made sure that it was wider than the front piece. The first thing I'll do here is to rule a straight line to indicate where the front piece stopped at. Now this is not necessary, I only did it because of the shade of the fabric. And I'll go ahead to add 2 inches at the waistline, at the hip line, and also at the crotch line. At the crotch line, you can add more than 2 inches. so I'll go ahead to connect all the dots together. I will come to this side as well and add 2 inches all the way down. Now I will come to the waistline of the back piece, this place I'm touching, and then I will extend the line by 2 inches. Then I will come to the waistline of my front piece and measure what I have there. I have 9 inches there, so I'll measure that 9 inches on my back piece and then rule a slant line. Now this is because there won't be elastic on the band of this palazzo pant, so I want it to be fitted on my waist. I'm going to connect the point here where the line stopped to the hip line, so I'll just extend the hip line to the back piece and then connect it together. Now we are done with the back piece, and the next thing to do is to cut it out. Now that we are done cutting, the next thing to do is to start stitching. I will head over to the sewing machine and stitch the crotch line for the front piece and the back piece. Alright guys, I'm done stitching the crotch for the front and back, and the next thing to do is to mark where my dart will be. So I'm using my nipple to nipple measurement to mark this out. My nipple to nipple measurement is 7 inches and the half is 3.5. So I'll notch the front and the back piece, then take it to the sewing machine to stitch down 4 inches length of dart. Alright guys, I'm done stitching in the dart, and the next thing I'm going to do is to join the sides of this pants. So at one side of the pants I won't stitch it all the way up because there will be zipper there, so I'm going to be leaving the space for the zipper about 8 inches or thereabouts, and I will stitch the remaining length all the way down on both sides. Okay guys, I'm done stitching the sides and I left space for the zipper. So the next thing I'm going to do is to stitch this crotch area. So I'm going to align it and then I'll stitch it on both sides all the way down. And then after stitching on both sides, I will hem the length of this pant by 1 inch. Okay guys, I'm done stitching the crotch area and the hem of the pants, and I turned it to the right side. I also went ahead to fix my zipper to this pant. Now the last thing to do is to attach band to this pant. So I'm gonna ahead to cut out the piece for the band, and I also went ahead to iron stay on both sides. Now the measurement for this piece is 2 inches. When I'm done stitching, I will arrive at the 1.5 I left for it while cutting. So I'll go ahead now and pin my band around the waist of this pant, but then I'm going to leave about 1.5 inches outside the zipper area. This is because I want to create space for hook and eye on the band. So I'm going to pin it around, take it to the sewing machine and then stitch. Alright guys, I'm done attaching band to the pant, and I also went ahead to fix the hook and eye, and that is all for this palazzo pant tutorial. Thanks for watching. If you find this tutorial helpful, please give us a thumbs up, and if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, kindly subscribe for more videos.